Oh, hi. Greg Harver again, your reporter for Silicon Valley big tech corruption and suppression of conservative speech. And I'm here in Los Gatos at the world famous Netflix. Why did I pick Netflix? My concern from Netflix is that they are filtering out conservative viewpoints in what they choose to provide as entertainment value. Personally, I still have my Netflix account, but I have a message for Netflix and Reed Hastings, the CEO, and I'm going to just tape that to the Netflix marquee here. And this is all about censorship, primarily the censorship of Gone with the Wind. And if you want to see and read this, it will be posted along with this video on my Facebook page. It defends Gone with the Wind as a non-racist, historic film that we all deserve to be able to access and see. So I'm going to come up here and paste this thing up here. Security, I don't know where the hell they are. Oh, sorry about that. So here we go. Pasting that to the Netflix marquee for all to see, especially Reed Hastings. It's an open letter. So my beef about Netflix is it has me a little worried. It has me a little worried since Donald Trump was elected. And most of this started happening around 2018. So in 2018, Netflix put on their board of directors Susan Rice, former ambassador to the United Nations under the Obama administration. Board of directors make some pretty important decisions about how the companies run and what they show. So it angered a lot of conservatives, Republicans primarily. I'm not a Republican, by the way. I'm an independent. I've been declined to state for most of my entire life since I went to school at UC Berkeley in the late 70s. So my concern really started to become more of a concern when in May of 2018, Netflix signed up Barack and Michelle Obama to program for them, to program shows and entertainment, movies, and documentaries, oftentimes starring themselves. And I grew concerned that Netflix was becoming dominated with progressive idealists who also believed in finding ways to censor conservative voices. So I want to show you my sign. And if any of you have followed me on Facebook or on LinkedIn, you'll know that I've done this for Google and I've done it for Facebook. And after Netflix, I'm going to drive up to the belly of the beast in San Francisco and do it for Twitter. And I'll continue doing this for tech companies, big tech companies that have a lot of money and a lot of influence on what we see and what we hear. And whenever they come out and deny free speech and free access of content to the public in order to sell a single narrative to the public, well, that's a cause of concern to all of us, because they are suppressing ideas, differing ideas, different opinions. And this movement is all about racial diversity, sexual diversity, but what they don't believe in is the diversity of ideas. Because ideas, contrary to their ideas, are impermissible. And Netflix is just a growing number of big tech companies that are buying into that. So what makes me say this about Netflix? Okay, you bring in the Obamas, you bring in Susan Rice. All right, no cause for alarm. Let me quote you from their CEO, Reed Hastings. And Reed was a Hillary Clinton supporter. But this is what Reed said about Trump. And I'm not a Trump fanatic. Donald Trump says things that I don't necessarily agree with. I'm not this diehard Trump supporter. But the reason I like Trump is he goes against the establishment, whether it's Republicans or Democrats. Why do you think Republicans hate him? He's anti-establishment, and that means he's willing to go and find the truth and fight corruption in Washington. And there's a ton of it. And Netflix is no different from the rest of them. So here's what Reed Hastings had to say in 2016 about Donald Trump. Quote, Trump would destroy much of what is great in America. Hillary Clinton is the strong leader we need, and it's important that Trump lose by a landslide to reject what he stands for. End quote. Now, does this sound like someone who will be fair in providing the conservative viewpoint on his platform? So Netflix has to come clean at a minimum. And coming clean means, yes, we promote the progressive agenda, period. And let your viewers then make a decision about whether to continue to subscribe to your flea bag corporation. If anyone watched the Golden Globes and Ricky Gervais's monologue, Netflix is all part of that system. They're hypocrites who censor, who ignore injustices. As long as it is favorable, those injustices lead to favorable outcomes for the progressive liberal ideology. And one day soon, I'll be going over to Apple, and there's a whole slew of things I'm going to say about Apple in Cupertino. And that's who I represent. I'm here in a highly liberal, progressive society in the San Francisco Bay Area. Lived here my whole life. And I'm one guy speaking out against what's going on. Maybe I'm out of touch, but I don't think freedom of speech is something that we should ever be out of touch with. So, to kind of end my story, once the Obamas were installed, by 2020, with the whole Black Lives Matter movement and assault and the burning down of cities, inner cities, what does Netflix do as soon as Black Lives Matter again comes into the limelight? What do? They start censoring material. They go after shows, movies, long-standing movies like Gone with the Wind that depict black Americans, or black slave Americans, in a way they don't like. Well, that little letter I posted for Reed Hastings will challenge that. And I ask you to read it on my site, on my Facebook page, where this video is going to be posted. To me, it makes sense. Taking that step in censoring materials that are offensive to fringe ideologies that are anti-American, rip down the system, avowed Marxist in the Black Lives Matter movement, contradictions in the Black Lives movement that denounce police violence against blacks, but doesn't denounce black on black crime, doesn't denounce single parent households that are killing the black community. So it's my desire to continue supporting conservative viewpoints and to point out those who suppress them, especially the high-tech companies in Silicon Valley. And I want to call out to my brothers and sisters in conservative lands in all 49 states and in California here to speak out and simply don't let this happen. We don't want a cancel culture, but if we are forced to, because we are force-fed propaganda by entertainment companies such as Netflix and Disney, which is also in California, then you have to make a choice whether to keep the television on. Personally, I've turned my television off on Sundays when the NFL gets turned on. Everyone has a right to speak, but politics has invaded everything now in our lives. And politics has permeated our lives. And it's primarily controlled by progressive, liberal ideologies, and it's a giant machine. And now big tech's involved, and that's so disappointing to me because I've lived in Silicon Valley. I've worked here for 40 some years in high tech, and I've never seen such disgraceful behavior by our high tech companies. And from the bottom of my heart to the rest of America, I apologize for these big tech companies because I didn't know until now how bad they were and how one-sided they were. So I didn't want to disturb anyone from Netflix on a Sunday, but I think they're going to their gym right across the street. Probably a gym that not many of you could ever afford. But there it is. And I'll just leave it at that. So thank you for watching. As I said, I'll be driving up now to the belly of the beast, San Francisco. And I figure I'm going to get a little harassed on the street because Twitter's on Market Street, a main artery in San Francisco. And I'm certain to either get my sign kicked down or a name called or whatever. But hell, that's what I do. That's what I have to put up with in California. Okay, thanks for watching, everybody. And please go to my Facebook page and read up on my arguments to why they shouldn't censor Gone with the Wind. Because if they censor Gone with the Wind, and by the way, before I go, Gone with the Wind isn't censored in countries like Canada, Italy, and Switzerland. They can still access it. But Canada was a slave country too. So what are they doing? What is Netflix doing? It's only good for us Americans that we don't watch it. Canada, although they got rid of slavery earlier than we did, perhaps 60 years earlier, was still a slave country. So why take away, modify, edit, add captions to, narratives to Gone with the Wind for Americans only? Are we the only disgrace out there? Are we all the only racist in the world? Who are you to judge that, Netflix? Or perhaps it's Obama who's judging that for you. Okay. See you soon. Bye.